Hello, this is Resource of the Week with SolanoConnex, Mental Health, Service Access, and You. My name is Valentina Kelly.
And I'm Elena Starr. And this week, we're really excited. We're meeting with Nicollette Morales, who's one of the co-chairs for the Filipinx Mental Health Initiative, or otherwise known as FMHI.
Good morning, Nicollette. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to learn more from you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Could you tell us a little bit about FMHI and what you guys do or what you specialize in?
Yeah, so the Filipinx Mental Health Initiative of Solano, Napa started in 2018. We had our launch in 2019. And really, if it was not for the other FMHIs in the Bay Area, like San Francisco and San Mateo County, we would not be who we are today. We're really excited to offer, support for Filipinos that, or people that identify as Filipino. It's really a space for Filipinos to come and talk about mental health. And we really want to end the stigma around mental health in the Filipino community because it's so prevalent because of different factors in our lives and definitely because of colonization of the Philippines. So,
yeah. I know you kind of talked about it just a little bit with like the Bay Area and other chapters, or I don't know if chapter is the correct word, but could you give us a little bit more history about just how this started?
Yeah, so in 2005, there was a behavioral health survey that was done in the Filipino community in San Mateo County. What they saw was that there was a high rate of Filipina girls that had suicide ideation, bouts of depression, and loneliness. But they were not getting access to services at all. So the rate of suicide ideation, depression, and loneliness was higher than how they were getting access. And so San Mateo County is the first FMHI and really wanted to, work with Filipina girls in middle school because it was such a high rate. It was like 40% of Filipina girls that had suicide ideation or depression, but only maybe 5% of that were getting access to services around mental health. And so they really wanted to make sure that they educate the community about mental health because they knew it was such a stigmatized word, even in our community where we don't have a word in the various languages in the Philippines for mental health. And it's always been a negative connotation for mental health. And so they really, started that organization out there, or that coalition to educate the elders so that their youth could get access to services. And then FMHI San Francisco came right behind them as well because the rate was still 40% of Filipina, or above 40% of Filipina girls in middle school that still had that high rates of depression and suicide ideation as well. And then when we come here to Solano County, we saw that was the same issue again. At least 40% of Filipina girls having the high suicide ideation and depression rates and low access to services. And then we saw that again in Napa County as well, especially in the American Canyon city, that it was still the same number, 40%. And even to this day, within that frame of 2005 to 2019, that was still the rate of Filipina girls. And we understand it is because of the stigmatization of the word mental health and the bad connotations that come along with it. And also because we don't have a word for mental health. And it's so, we're always, saying that it's for crazy people and it's not just for people that just need to get services, or so they don't want to access those services because they want to keep it within the family. And so we really try to make sure that across the board of all the FMHIs, to educate people about mental health. What does it mean? We do have different terms that come up and we have to say it in Tagalog or Filipino. And one of those words is nalulungkot, which means this deep sadness. And so that is how we have to describe depression in the Filipino community.
Wow. I was listening to you talking and I was going to ask like how you even talk about it if there aren't words for some of these words. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, we have to really come up with different words or use the words that we do have in our language to describe it, right? And it's not only just young girls, right, that are going through that. We do understand that the elder Filipinos that, obviously has been affected by COVID, but also the ones that are new immigrants and they don't know what's happening or where they can go because they don't have access to, let's say, a car to drive them anywhere, or they don't have friends out here. And so when we talk to elder Filipinos about, that deep hurt, nalulungkot, for the community or for where they're from in the Philippines, that is something that, triggers them and says, oh yeah, I do feel that. And then we slowly have a conversation with them in Tagalog or Filipino, in some other cases, other languages in the Philippines. If we have someone on with us that is able to talk to them in that language, then we describe it like that, so that we're not using the term mental health, but then they're using a term that they are, they really know well.
I can't believe those numbers are staggering. I can't believe that
Yeah.
they're so high.
Yeah. And you would think that someplace where it's in an urban setting, you would say, okay, that could be higher. But when you're in suburbia and you see those numbers as well,
Yeah.
what is happening, So we really want to make sure that we get to the root of that and give services or places that youth can go to feel like that they can talk about it, right? And so that's where FMHI comes into play.
That's amazing that you guys are starting to do that work towards reducing some of the stigma. And I was wondering, what are some of the ways that that FMHI is working to reduce stigma in mental health?
So we definitely, do mental health awareness month events, but then we also try to talk about it anytime and any place, right? And so when we're at different tabling events, we're going to talk about mental health. We're going to talk about that stigma, and it's really, what's funny is that it's not so much the mental health aspect or the stigma. I feel like Solano County has done a great job of really promoting mental health. And so the elder Filipinos that may have been like, nah, I don't want to talk about it, are more into like, well, okay, I understand the mental health, but what does Filipinx mean? And so they're more asking us about that, but then we get to talk to them about the services or, the different Filipino therapists or clinicians that are here that can be offered to them or even to their youth. And they're blown away by how many Filipino clinicians that we do have that can, help them. And so we do know that more folks are willing to see a therapist or someone who looks like them and speaks their language. And so it was really great that we had an intern from UC Davis this past year really help us build that database. And he got, different communities all over, the different Bay Area counties, and, put down their name, what languages they speak, what insurance they take, their contact information. And so we were really blessed to have this UC Davis intern for us because it really impacts our community to be able to share that database with them.
That's awesome. And how do community members get connected to you guys? How do they get involved? How do they know about events and join?
Yeah, so we hold monthly meetings right now. Since COVID happened, it has been virtual. There has been a few meetings where we've done in person, where we make parole or lanterns in November, right? So it's ready for the holidays, but they can email us at fmhisolano@gmail.com. And they're able to, look at us through our Instagram feed, which is still FMHI Solano, and making sure that they understand, they can reach us out at any time and we'll be able to respond to them as soon as possible. But we are a volunteer organization, right? So all of us like have other jobs outside of it. But we really, we have even a Dr. Scarlett McClure is my other co-chair, who's a doctor at Kaiser. And she's really, we really support this work in the Filipino community. And so we know that it's very important because without any of us volunteering our time, this wouldn't be happening, right? And so we really appreciate, our folks that are volunteering their time for this. And our main person is Erica Parpan, who leads this whole thing for us. So she's been doing this work for a long time too. So we're really glad that she's still on board too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing that you have such a strong team that's working to help reduce some of the stigma around this. And is there a website for FMHI?
We currently don't have a website right now. What we do have is really our Instagram, just email us. Unfortunately, we're getting to that. We are under the Filipino community of Solano County Incorporated. And so they're based in Vallejo. And so we've been very lucky for them to take us on as an organization because they have been very supportive of the work that we have been doing. And so where you're going to be going in next week is at the Filipino Community Center, Vallejo. So we're really excited about that.
Oh, we're so excited to be there. So yeah, thank you so much for inviting us. And so it sounds like you talked about if people want to get more information, they can email you or their social media as well, right? Those are the two.
Yes. Yeah,
Great.
those are the two things right now. We do have a phone number that people can call if they like to do that, or even text at that number. So that phone number, it's 707-312-8076.
Perfect.
Yeah, so they can call or text us, but we'll get back to them as soon as we can.
And Nicollette, was there anything else that you wanted to add that we didn't give you a chance to touch on?
I think that FMHI is growing as a coalition and at different spaces and places, right? So we do know that there will be FMHI in Alameda County soon.
Oh, awesome.
Sacramento is looking to start an FMHI chapter. And also in Hawaii, there is people have been asking us to meet with them and talk about like what are some of the work and how do we build an FMHI out there. And so, you know, there has been all this information from the different surveys that you take and they see the need for it in those spaces. So we're really excited to build. We work really closely with FMHI San Mateo County and FMHI San Francisco, support them at their different events, and they do us as well. And so we're really grateful that we know all of those different members and different chapters of FMHI. And so we're excited to build this coalition and really make sure that, you know, the stigma around the Filipino community ends and really begins with the next generation to get these services that are so needed in our community and make it, you know, like it's a normal thing. Like when we talk about mental health and physical health, it should be one and the same, right? And so that's what our goal is for FMHI. And I think that goes to show for all other mental health organizations that we just want it to be on an even level playing field, that we get those services the same as physical health.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And thank you so much for being here with us today. And thank you so much for talking to us about FMHI. We learned a lot and we hope, you know, our listeners learn a lot as well. We also want to remind people, we're going to put the phone number again that you can call or text here in the post. And we're also going to put the email as well. So if people want to reach out, they can do that. And then as always, if you're looking for mental or emotional health resources and services in Solano County, you can always visit SolanoConnex.org, and that's Solano, CONNEX.org. Thank you so much, Nicollette, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you both.